Hi, I'm Amy.
And I'm Kirsty.
And this is our podcast covering the highs, lows, and realities of parenting a child with neurodiversity.
Each week we'll be sharing updates from our lives and hearing from a variety of guests about their advice and experiences.
This is Love Needs No Words. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Love Needs No Words. It's been a little while with the Easter break and so many great guests, but we thought we'd come on and do a little half-term catch-up. So how are things for you, Kirsty?
Things are good. We are coming out the end of the Easter holidays now, so just gone back to school, which evoked a whole heap of different emotions with me. I think I must be the only parent in living history that's actually quite glad when the school holidays arrive, just because it's one less concern that I'm going to get any calls from school or anything like that. I don't have to deal with the playground politics. I quite like the Easter holidays or any holidays, school holidays really, if I'm honest. So I don't know, maybe a bit of apprehension going back to school, to be honest.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, it was pretty good on the whole. John was off for most of it with Alex, so it was nice for them to do a few things together, because I don't know about you, but I just find now that there's the two, you sort of feel like you don't get any time with them separately. So actually the holidays are really good for that, because it sort of gives you that opportunity to spend that one-on-one time with them. So they did the Sen trampolining session again, and they went to a little farm near us which has lots of outdoor bits that Alex likes. And I was talking to another Sen mum the other day actually, and we were saying, you know, when you find somewhere that they really enjoy, it's actually worth investing in like a yearly pass or something, because
Absolutely.
it's the repetition for them isn't an issue. They actually really love it. So this particular farm, we're thinking of getting an annual pass, because every time we've taken him there, he's just loved it. And it's really worth it, isn't it, if you're there for the whole day?
We've done that with the local zoo, and I cannot tell you this has been the best value membership I think ever.
Yeah.
I feel like we're robbing them because we're there so often, but it's so good. And actually, it's somewhere where I know, like, I'm not nervous to take him either, or
Yeah.
them, I should say, because actually one-on-one is fine. It's when I've got both of them and they're running in different directions. But actually, there's so much space where we go, and yeah, familiarity. So I completely agree with you.
And Alex is I've definitely noticed that once he's been somewhere once, it's like he recognizes the road even before you get there. It's really weird.
Oh wow.
So
Photographic memory, do you think?
I don't know. I'm starting to think maybe because we go down to Norfolk a lot, as you know, to see John's auntie. And this time we were probably, I'd say 15, 20 minutes away, and I could see him getting excited in the back. And he sort of rocks and closes his eyes with this like massive grin. And I was said to John, I think he knows where we are. And then as we got closer, he was getting more excited. And then we sort of arrived on the driveway, and she was like, "Hi, Alex," and he just literally like sort of hugged her legs and then just sort of pushed her out the way. And then he knew where like the box of toys were, went outside the back to where the garden was. And I was like, this is just lovely, because he just feels so happy and comfortable here. So yeah, for him, repetition really helps. So yeah, we were down there for 4 days, and I felt really relaxed, because you're sort of away from home in an environment that he feels very comfortable in, and we were just able to relax. So that was really nice actually. And like we keep saying, is sort of with working full time, you're sort of passing in the night. Sometimes you feel like the kids are back, you've only got like an hour before they're both in bed, and yeah, you're just exhausted. So just to take that time to just be us was really lovely. So we did that, and then we did have a quite difficult day. We went to another family member's house that we'd not been to before. So I was already feeling a bit anxious about how Alex would be, because as I say, once he's been somewhere once, he's okay. But we were seeing a lot of people we'd not seen for ages. They'd not seen Alex since he was quite young. And I don't know about you, but I just sort of go in with this kind of level of anxiety of how much are they really going to understand this situation? What will happen if he doesn't deal with this very well? What if he spends the whole day finding it really difficult, and then we're just stuck there? And I think my level of anxiety that went in with was kind of definitely having an effect on him as well, which is just
Yeah.
awful because it's just the worst situation. And we arrived, and it was very much like, I need to show you this, and then I need to show you this, and then let's go and do this. And I was already thinking, oh, this is not going to give me enough time to prepare him at each transition. And it was note to myself that going forward, if that happens again, I'm just going to say, look, that is going to be too much for him, and not be afraid that that's not going to be okay with them, because it's actually what's necessary for me and what's necessary for him in that
Mm.
moment. But instead, I just sort of played along, fearing what happened. We sort of went outside, he wanted to do one thing, then he hadn't finished what we were doing and we were being led on to something else. So he makes this specific noise, which is basically saying he's not happy with what's happening. And like, of neurotypical children, you just can kind of pick them up and walk and they get over it in 5 minutes. As we know with our children, it's not that easy. And I just felt, and I'm sure many people listening will know the feeling, I'm sure you will, curse. It's like, felt like, what is it? What's the expression? Like your heart's in your stomach, or the other way around, whatever the
Yeah.
expression is. I couldn't breathe properly all day. I just felt like so stressed and so tense because I was so worried about him and what I
Mm.
was putting him through. And actually, the fact that thinking to myself, why aren't you just saying this is not okay? But when there's a massive group of people, it's very difficult.
I think all of us are just learning where the boundaries are. And sometimes you're going to get it right, and sometimes you're going to feel afterwards that I didn't quite get that right, but next time you will.
Yeah, and I kept saying, next time we come, he'll know where we're going. He'll recognize the driveway and he'll be excited because he loved this element and loved that element. Again, sort of trying to justify his behavior when I think you just feel frustrated at the situation. And yeah, maybe it was an element of that as well, that life is different for us. And we
Mm.
can't go into every situation and feel relaxed that it's going to go the way we hoped it will. You're always on this level of anxiety that something's going to upset them. And I think there was that as well, the feeling emotional around that as well. But yeah, we got in the car and I just felt like I could breathe, and we stopped off at McDonald's on the way home. We had a really nice sort of like relax after what felt quite a stressful day. And it shouldn't have been stressful, but I think, like you say, you learn, don't you, like what
Yeah.
works for them and what doesn't, and maybe to set the tone before you go. That's what I would do next time.
Sometimes, like, we'd love for people to read and research and such. Like, I just, some people will, but I think the reality is many people won't. And
Yeah.
just is exhausting because it adds to our plate, but actually we have to be that person to educate, for want of a better word, to what our children need and advocate for them. And it's building that confidence, isn't it, to do that as well, and not feel like you're inconveniencing people or influencing like everything else for a situation for everybody else, but actually you're not enjoying it in that situation. Alex isn't enjoying it. So having that conversation up front and saying, well, actually, what is the situation? Like, what are we going to be doing during the day? If that works, then great. And if it doesn't, then owning that, I guess, because it's no fun. It's just horrible to have that feeling of anxiety. Is so horrible.
Yeah, you're so right. And I think it's like with parties, if, like you said, if there's a soft play party, you'll just say thank you ever so much, but
It's not possible.
it's
Yeah,
not
for sure.
possible for us. And I think when you get to that point with, going around people's houses and being able to say, what are your plans for us today? Because I just need to kind of
Just
check.
need to know so you
Yeah.
can plan around it, because then also you can pre-warn him, and it might be that you do 50% of it, but actually you take it a little bit slower.
Yeah. I feel like when I get to that next level, which I feel after that experience I will be, that's another breakthrough as a parent, really, because like you say, we're just learning, aren't we, as we
Yeah,
go
definitely.
along.
Well, at least that's how it feels to me.
Yeah.
Definitely learning on the job. Max has been, I would say, quite deregulated at quite a few points, and I don't even necessarily think it was the Easter holidays that did it. I think Matt's been working a lot recently at the weekends, and when you were talking about those connection times that John and Alex had over the Easter holidays, I think Max has really missed that. And so they spent some time together yesterday, and Matt said, like, actually, I feel like we really needed that. So it's interesting, isn't it? But I think just the change for him has been quite a bit. And he worries. He seems to worry now about where people are when they're not with him. So even though he knows he's gone to work, I think he does. He just wants him to be back so that he knows he's home and he's safe and he's back here and everything goes back to normal. So I think that's kind of contributed to it. But also, I think we've had a bit of a revelation. We've always known he's been hangry, but I think we've had a real revelation that his diet really affects his mood and his sort of, I
Yeah.
guess, this behavior that comes out of that. And I've been doing some research into that a little bit more, and it actually turns out like it is a real thing for children with autism, ADHD, various different neurodiversities. So we're kind of looking a bit into that. I've gone on a bit of a wild drive to have a look, but it kind of became really apparent after Easter, and obviously all the eggs and the chocolate, and like, I think,
Yes.
oh, you know what, like you're nearly 5 now. He didn't have a lot of it when he was younger, but I kind of thought, oh, you're getting a bit older now, and I made such a rookie error of letting him have just a bit too much chocolate, to be fair, too close to bed. Honestly, he was bouncing off the walls, but just not even in a positive way, just
Yeah.
really just it's like he will be fine and then he will instantly switch. And we've had a few situations where like immediately after um he's been he's eaten like a fair amount of, I suppose, high energy foods. We've had a situation, and we've had it in the park where he was literally having such a lovely time, and then he just switched, and it was honestly like watching a trigger, and it just went, and he just went, and he was, then completely having a meltdown for over an hour. So a real like lesson for us is that we need to be better at monitoring what he eats, and it's so hard, isn't it?
So
Because you kind of
interesting
think
as well.
it's so fascinating, but
Yeah.
also I feel like frustrated for him because I think, oh, I know it sounds really silly, but I'd love for you to be able to experience Easter like other children, where you kind of, eat, it can eat more chocolate than you're used to and just enjoy that, and it be kind of, they might get a little bit hyperactive, but not the extreme meltdown situations that we've been facing. And I just feel like that's just such a shame that that's his reality, but such is life, and we need to be better at recognizing that. But hopefully that will help.
But also, I just think there's so much of it. Like,
There's so much.
I mean, our kids, it was very kind of family, but our kids got, I don't know, 5 or 6 chocolate eggs each. And I was thinking, she's not even 2. How is she going to
Yeah. I
eat
mean,
all this chocolate? I mean, part of me was thinking, ooh, this has
I mean,
worked
I
out
think the
very well.
absolute result. I have to be honest. I've dealt with the problem very nobly and eaten pretty much all the
Yeah, I
eggs
mean, someone has to
now.
do it, right? It
Someone
has to
has
be
to
done.
do it, and I thought, who better than me? So that's what I did. But but
But
yeah,
there
such a
is.
fascinating and interesting topic.
There's
Um,
so much, there's too much, I think. There's
yeah.
too much chocolate and yeah, I mean, mine were the same, like shoveling it in and like
Mm,
Alex goes from like 0 to 100 sort of like buzzing, which,
yeah.
most kids do after they've had chocolate. But yeah, I find the come down is just
Yeah, I find
oh,
it very extreme, a
yeah.
really extreme response to it. So we've got to be better at that about planning. And I don't know if he's growing or what, but I can't seem to get enough food into him at the moment. And I know
Yeah,
it's
there is a
quite
growth
easy
spurt, I
when
think.
they're hungry and they're wanting snacks to kind of just reach for easy stuff. And so yeah, real lesson learned with that, because we've seen quite a lot of meltdowns in the last couple of weeks, and I'm sure that's not the only contributing factor, but I think anyone that was around us over Easter, it was quite obvious what was happening
Mm.
with it. So yeah, I'll let you know how that goes, but hopefully, and it makes me wonder about school as well, because I know he does eat, and he's fortunately he's not sort of sensory to food or anything. He's quite like an open eater and such, like he's okay, but he needs a lot of protein, I think, and a lot of food that sort of fills him up. And I just wonder
Yeah.
how much food he's actually having at school, because obviously there's no way of monitoring that. And I'm not surprised sometimes that the afternoons are challenging, if he's not eaten enough, or if he's eaten lots of sugary, pudding or whatever, as part of his lunch. So I probably need to look into that. But yeah, like I said, it's definitely not the the be all and end all. It's not suddenly fix the diet and he's gonna be entirely different, but definitely can see the relationship between food, diet,
Yeah,
and his behavior.
yeah, I can relate to that actually because we had a few sort of lazy mornings, I guess, over Easter. And so we were coming down in the morning later, and I was definitely noticed he was getting more irritable
Mm,
because he was hungry. I
mm,
mean, boys anyway, always hungry, but I
yeah.
find it like also his blood sugar levels were probably
Yeah.
quite low. And so that
Yeah.
had an impact on his behavior. And then today I've just suddenly remembered when you were talking, the menu has changed at school. So the
Mm,
food menu's changed. And obviously for all the other children, it'd be exciting. They've got new bits on the menu. And for
mm,
Alex, he must have been like, what is this?
yeah.
Because I feel like he just got into the swing of
Mm,
what he was having each day and what they felt they could give him each day. So yeah, it's just little things like that could just throw them off completely. But going back to what you said about the anxiety thing, I can really relate to that as well because for Alex, anxiety for him is definitely like the biggest problem that the occupational therapist is going to be dealing with weekly in the classroom. Alex is very much the same when John goes to work and he's spent all day with him. He will like go around closing all the doors. And I think I talked about it before, and it's obviously
yeah.
his way of saying he's not happy about the situation. And he is definitely his most happiest when all of us are in the same place and he can see
Agreed.
everyone. Yeah.
Same. Exactly the same. He's definitely, it's like, I guess it's his normal. And we do a lot of stuff together. So I think
Yes.
it's just been totally out of his routine, I guess. Even though Max isn't a child that needs to do the same thing every day and needs a very structured and strict routine. He doesn't, but he
No.
definitely likes familiarity.
Yeah.
And if there's any significant changes, he definitely needs to be pre-warned about that. I think it's definitely affected him. We had an interesting we had an interesting Easter holidays actually, thinking about it, because Max, and only Max would be able to achieve this, but he got the tiniest little blister when we went up to the zoo. It was quite warm, and anyway, new shoes, etc. He got a tiny blister, and lo and behold, a week later, it got so infected. It was horrendous, and I feel really bad that I didn't notice it. But he's got a low pain threshold, but he also, if he's hurt himself, he doesn't want you to look at it. He doesn't want anybody to look at it. He will actively get very upset if you try and sort of intervene with it, spray it, put a plaster. He hates a plaster.
Yeah.
So anyway, this thing had kind of managed to bubble up, and he got really unwell, and then he was in so much pain. No painkillers, no Calpol, Nurofen was hitting it. So I sort of
Oh.
reached out to 111, and they sort of advised to keep an eye on it. And then he started in the middle of the night being very sick, which he's not a sicky child, so was a
Oh,
bit
that's quite worrying.
concerning. Yeah, it could not stop being sick.
Gosh.
So then I called them back, and they said, no, you need to take him to A&E. So a nice little 4 o'clock in the morning trip, which
Oh, bless
actually
you.
isn't very pleasant, but it's very calm at that time in the morning. I mean, I was fully awake, obviously, with everything going on. And I thought, God, it's quite peaceful at this time in the morning. But yeah, we trundled down to A&E, who were very, very good. And yeah, he had to have antibiotics. But he spent 2.5 days on the sofa and just would not and could not move, which for
Oh,
a
just not
child that
like him.
does not
Yeah.
stop moving was completely, it was just very strange to see, and it just completely wiped him out. But yeah, so that kind of was the middle part of our Easter. So
Oh,
a
bless
good
him.
beginning of Easter and a good end of Easter, but I don't think he would say his the middle part was particularly
Oh.
enjoyable for him. But he was fine after a while. Bit of a not wanting to take the antibiotics, of course. But he's obsessed with it. He's obsessed with this blister. He talks about it all the time, every day, and he's been the
Hyper
same with
focused on it.
yeah, completely. And he was the same when he fell over and grazed his arm. He literally could not stop talking and thinking about it. And I was thinking, I'm confident that this isn't hurting you anymore, but you can't stop thinking about it, and it goes back to that anxiety, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, bless him. I'm glad that the antibiotics
He's absolutely fine now.
rid of
It's
it.
Yeah, he's happy to tell his story, but it was just classic. It's
Oh, yeah, of
classic of
course.
him.
I was gonna say it's like the going to look at the train again when
Yeah,
the
when he's
train
got that
the
thing in his
steam
eye,
got
the
in his
steam in his
eye.
eye.
Oh,
He's so
bless
accident
him.
prone.
We had a situation like a few weeks ago, we were on the trampoline, and I don't quite know how he did it, but Alex sort of scratched his face and it was quite deep, the cut. But in those situations, I just find it so hard because, like Max, he hates plasters and it was just like bleeding. And I was thinking, I can't walk around with this on your face. And then we bought this cream to put on it, which the doctor said will just stop it scarring. And every time I put it on, he'd just wipe it off with his sleeve or so it was like creeping in the middle of the night, trying to get it on his face.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
a ninja trying to do it in the
Ninja
middle of
trying
the
to,
night.
yeah, exactly that,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
waking up.
I know. I've started cutting his nails when he's asleep because he doesn't like it being done.
Yeah, just
Abs-
anything to just get it done.
yeah, I nailed it last night. Excuse the pun,
Literally.
but literally nailed it last night. Yeah, he was fast asleep. I obviously must have caught that moment when they are fully asleep. He was all kind of floppy. Cut all of his nails, no drama. I just can't face the almost an hour mediation backwards and forwards about
Yeah.
negotiation of when we're going to cut the nails and which nail can be cut first. And that one's not long, but it actually is. And I just thought, no, I haven't got the time for this. I'm just gonna I'm gonna do it when he's asleep.
No. And the funny thing is with Alex, with us, is if we sort of go, right, we're gonna cut your nails now. Are you ready? And do a build up to that, he's like, ah! Where if like you just get him and you've got the clippers in your hand and you're just very calm about it and start, he hasn't got time to
Yeah.
process what's
No.
happening. And you're just like, well done, mate.
Another good news story for us, and I think a good news story for you as well that you can probably share is we got confirmation that Max has got increased banding of funding. So
Oh, that's
hopefully,
so good.
yeah, I'm really, really hoping that that will now translate into additional support in school and will help sort of relieve some of this anxiety and support him more actually than anything else. Support him when he needs it during times of day when he needs it. So oh, that's all I'm going to say at the moment because I don't know. I need to wait and see what it looks like and what the outcome of it is. But, it's a win because it's not easy, as we all know. The fight to get any additional support
Yeah.
is a bumpy road. So
Oh,
yeah,
that's
that
amazing
felt like a
news. Well done,
positive.
you.
Yeah, and for you, I mean, the last few weeks you put up a
Oh,
video. I can't believe we're coming to it last, but we're saving the best till last because Alex has said words.
it's honestly amazing. I never thought, well, of course, I hoped that this day would come, but
Mm,
for so long, I just wasn't sure whether or not he would ever speak and gonna get emotional now. But I was always the one that was like so positive about it all the time.
mm,
And John's a realist. He was always like, did he say that word though? And my advice to anyone is if one parent's saying, I heard them say that, just always say, oh, that's amazing. Because
yeah,
those days where you think you've heard it and the
validate
other
it.
one's, yeah, the other one's going, did they though? Or did you
Mm,
just think they were? It's just like so crushing sometimes. And he wasn't coming from a bad place. He's just being real about the situation. But there's absolutely no doubt in his mind now that he's attempting to say words. And very interestingly, it started off with bye. So everyone, wherever he goes now, is like, bye, bye, if he leaves
oh, I love
somewhere. But yeah, it started off with that. And then I don't know whether it was the fact we just had so much one-to-one time with him over the Easter break, but I then started saying, if we were playing like a memory game or whatever it was, I'd say, you say dog or you say flower. I mean, I've been doing that for, a year and a half with no
that.
sounds coming out of his mouth, but always just trying, and if he did attempt to sound, I'd always repeat the word as if he'd said it. But yeah, I was getting dog.
Wow.
Sometimes I'd just be getting the end of words. He went back to school and I sent them videos in, and the speech and language therapist called me very excited and basically said he seems to be learning in sort of, I guess, a neurotypical way, in that he's learning single words first. And yeah, he's just like at night, you'll be reading his book that you read to him. We've been reading to him every day for over a year, and he'll say the last two words of each sentence. And yeah, it's just now teaching him to say them spontaneously, and it's slowly but surely coming. And I think so many of us have this fear of when they start talking that he might regress again, or I think when they get ill it slows down. Yeah, he's not been 100% the last few days, and I've sort of noticed that he's not attempting to say as much. But it was the realization of that he could say certain words, and then the impact that was having on us, because obviously we were going crazy, that
Mm.
it's like something clicked, like, oh, if I say that I get that
There's a
reaction.
response. Yeah,
Yeah. So I'm like, come on, we'll hopefully get this with potty training one day. But
you will.
yeah, it's just amazing. Like, it's just so lovely to hear his little voice, and he's got a long way to go and nowhere near conversations yet, but to think 6 months ago he wasn't saying, well, probably saying a few words, but not repeatedly. Yeah, so it's been a massive breakthrough, and the teachers are all very excited about it, and because of that I pushed for funding as well for a one-to-one going into year one, with potentially that being an option for now, just to see how he gets on. And the funding was agreed. So again, like you, it's been a long few weeks of just pushing and constantly ringing, which, so many people haven't got the time or the mental capacity to deal with it. Yeah, so he's going to go into year one with a full-time one-to-one, his speech and language therapist every week. We're still pushing to get him NHS speech and language therapy within the classroom, and then he'll have his occupational therapy every week. So yeah, we'll just see how he gets on. I mean, I'm never ruling out specialist as an option, but I just want to see, yeah, what the next year brings. And if the speech continues to progress, how they're going to do it is he'll have lessons in the morning with his one-to-one. Weaved in throughout the day will be some OT, some speech and language, and then he'll have a bit more free play in the afternoon than the other children, with the hope that eventually he builds up to kind of the same level as them. But yeah, it's been brilliant, and I haven't really had time to process the fact that, we are hearing a lot more now, and his focus has changed. Is a lot more eye contact. Also just wanting to be around us a lot more. I was always very conscious he needed his own space, where now whatever he's doing, he brings right up next to us. So yeah, it feels like since the words have been coming, his whole personality has changed, so in a positive way. So yeah, we'll see. I'll keep you all up to date.
That's amazing. I think, well, I know how much that means to you, and anyone that's been listening will know how much that means to you. So
Mm.
yeah, I'm just amazed, and yeah, and not surprised, because Alex is brilliant.
No, thank
But I
you.
know that you never know what the future holds, which is
No,
why it can be so challenging for us, because you just don't have that. You don't have that vision of the future, do you? But
no.
I mean, yeah, it's huge. So we raise a glass of wine to Alex
Yeah.
and you for your fight
Oh.
with it.
Thank
And
you.
support
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it's a slow road with the speech anyway, because you can definitely tell there's certain things that he's struggling to pronounce. But yesterday, it's the thing we all want to hear, but we were lying in bed with him and we said I, and he said I, and then we said love and he said ludge, and then we said you and he went you, and then we were like, I love you, and he was like, I ludge you.
Oh, Amy.
But it's just, it's just
But also,
those.
that's how children learn to speak. My
Yeah,
daughter's pronunciation is hit and miss at the best of times, especially when she's like trying to copy a word. So
yeah,
yeah, the
that's
pronunciation will come, I assume.
yeah. I feel like that is how it feels. It's like exactly how the journey went with Isabel and her speech, because
Yes.
it obviously that felt like the first time round for me, because I didn't have that with Alex. So
Mm.
it very much feels like the journey with Izzy, but he's older, and eventually you assume he goes from, you saying, "What's that?" and pointing at a dog, and him him saying dog, to then building up to brown dog to, the 2 words. So we'll see what happens over the next 6 months. But I also really feel like him being in an environment where children are talking all day long can only be beneficial for him at the moment. And he has it with his sister at home. So, but no, it's really exciting. And the family is so excited.
I bet.
And they're all really pushing to kind of get him to repeat words, or if sometimes he'll make this awful noise when he needs help, and now I'll say to him, Alex, just say help, and then he goes help, and he stops shouting and he just goes help. So it's kind of linking, it's kind of now saying, right, and stop shouting now, you can use your words. And we've got cards as well, so I'll get him to hand me the help card and say help at the same time. You don't realize, do you, when your child can even just say the basics of more,
Yeah.
hungry, thirsty. They don't even really need to say that many words, but it's just
No.
so helpful, because I think the hardest thing about having a child that doesn't speak is, one, when they're unwell and you can't ask them what's wrong. That to me is, I find, really difficult. But also ensuring that he's got enough food on his plate and enough water in his cup, because I don't want him to ever be hungry or thirsty, because he can't tell me.
Yeah.
But I got so relaxed at the weekend that he came up to me, grabbed my hand, took his empty bottle to the tap, pointed at the tap, and I filled his bottle up. And that was the first time he's ever sort of led that sequence, because I guess I've always been so worried
You've been preempting it.
preempting it all the time. And I think even that full sequence playing out is massive, because it's the awareness, isn't it, of where he gets his drink and telling me that he needs a drink in his own way. And then I think I said water, and he said water. So again, it's just linking those two things up in his little head now.
It's so exciting. I can't wait to hear. I can't wait to hear how it goes over the next few months.
It's just lovely when we leave school and I'm like, say bye, and he goes bye.
Bye. Oh.
So yeah, it feels like a little bit of weight has lifted. But yeah, I think there's always that anxiety that they could have like another regression at some point. But you can't think like that, can you? You just got to keep thinking positively. And
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so all very exciting. So I'll keep you up to date with it all. But yeah, he was sent home today, bless him, because his eyes were all puffy and he was very emotional. Yeah, because he can't understand what's wrong. And I went for a run earlier, and I said, John rang me, so I'm on my way, and I said, my eyes are going mental.
Yeah, mine was sneezing a lot today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I think the pollen count
really
is high.
Yeah, lovely weather. We suffer.
There's always something, isn't there? So I thought, right, well, I'll send him in all Puritoned up tomorrow and
You're
to
most
bed.
sleepy.
Yeah, I know he's gonna be drowsy. That's the problem. But yeah, I thought, well, he might sleep all right tonight. But
Yeah, fingers crossed.
yeah. But yeah, that's it really. I hope this term goes well, especially once you get your one-to-one in place. But yeah, we'll be back to update everybody
Keep
in
you
the
up
next
to
few
date
weeks
with what
anyway.
happens with that. Fingers crossed it's positive. Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Oh, but that's really good news that you got the funding.
It's a step forward. It's a massive step forward. So
yeah.
Good.
So yeah, we've got some brilliant guests coming on. We've got Jessica Worley, who's written the book Autism Mum. That was a really interesting interview covering lots of different things there. We've got Mrs. Jessie Towns on Instagram talking about PDA parenting. So yeah, if you're going through that at the moment, or you think your child might have a PDA profile, that's going to be a really interesting one for you. We've got a clinical psychologist, and we've also got Anne Longfield, the former Children's Commissioner, coming on the podcast. So be really interesting to look at how things were being dealt with then and how things are being dealt with now, and sort of her opinion around it all. I'm really intrigued to hear what she feels about the current situation.
Yeah, that'd be fascinating.
So yeah, thank you so much for listening.
Please do like and subscribe on wherever you get your podcasts, and it'll just help you keep up to date with everything that we are talking about. And yeah, we'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.